Hi, welcome to the latest edition of Ragic Office Hour, and let's do a recap on our latest feature. And today's feature that we're going to review is an update on conditional formatting. So let's say when you're doing conditional formatting, and you're able to add all sorts of different conditions so that certain fields or um, certain form descriptions can display differently. So if you go to a sheet, let's find a more complex sheet. Let's say sales order. Okay. So let's say we're going to a sales order sheet like this, and we go to change design. And you should be able to add sections. So if you're not aware that we can add sections to a sheet. So you can add a section like this. So create sections. And we can add a second section like right here. And create section. Okay, so the first section for this sales order would be the products, like the sales order details. Order detail. And the second section would be the credit card number here. Okay, so let's say we have a sheet that has two sections like this. And what we added in the conditional formatting function is that we can now show and hide different sections according to different conditions. So for example, we want to say, oh, we want to hide the credit card number if the customer type is online. So it's in store. Let's say we have two types of sales orders, in store and online. And we want to hide the credit card number field when it's online. Let's just say this is the use case. And we can go to conditional formatting, create a new rule so that if the type is online, then we have show section and hide section. See? So we can hide section, we can hide the credit card number section like this. So we added the ability for you to show and hide sections in conditions for the conditional formatting, in the conditional formatting rules. So if we save this, and we have different sales order that display just like before, but if we choose online, it's gonna hide the section right here, some of the section. So this is only a very simple example, but you could apply this to all sorts of different application designs. So sometimes if you have lots of fields that you would like to hide, and that you would like to hide in a Ragic form, and you might when you're doing conditional formatting, you might need to choose a lot of fields. So if you put them into a section, not only that it's easier to configure in the design mode, where you can just simply choose a section, and the actual UI behavior of your form would be more easily understood, more intuitive for the user, so that, oh, they see a whole section being hidden. So it's clear that, oh, this action hides this section, and not that they will see when you do something, a certain fields disappear. So that looks a little bit different. So I think this makes some of the conditional formatting when you're showing and hiding certain fields more intuitive if you can do them by sections. All right, and this is the recap for today, and let's go back to the questions that you have. First question. Managing substitute approvers by form in Ragic. According to the current design of Ragic, each account can assign only one substitute account. during the approval process, the substitute account is able to approve on behalf of the original account. Okay, I think you're referring to the deputy account, right? Set deputy. So you're setting a deputy for when you're doing approvals, or when you're away on vacation or you're not available to sign to approve the records, the deputy will be able to do that for you. Okay, so however, in our actual operation, but right now you can only assign one of them. In our actual operation, we have the following requirements. A single account needs to assign different deputy approvers to different forms or approval workflows. Okay, so not only you need multiple deputies, you also need to assign different forms or workflows for different deputies. That sounds a little bit complicated to configure, though. Could you please advise whether Ragic currently supports this type of configuration? If so, we could appreciate your guidance on how to set it up. Yeah, we don't really have a way to do this kind of deputy approval automatically. But as a workaround, it's definitely not the same. But as a workaround, you should be able to, if your deputy is this person A, he should be able to add the real, if on a certain form he's not the deputy for this, he should be able to just add an extra approver for that. So let's say step A is manager, and yeah, let's keep it simple for now. And yeah, by default, you're able to add an extra step to the approval. So let's say we're doing approval like this. So if we start approval here, and let's say I'm the deputy to this record, and I see the approve button here, but on certain forms that I'm not actually the deputy that's supposed to be for this. And as a workaround, you should be able to add an extra step, like add approvers in this step, or add a new step after this step. Or you can just basically change the approver here, since you're the approver. And yeah, this is a little bit manual because we don't really have a way to configure different deputies according to different forms. So as a workaround for now, you'll probably need to change approvers like this. So let me answer the first part of the question first. Currently, we don't have a way to assign different deputies according to which form that the approval is currently running on. However, we do have a manual workaround. You can change the deputy, can change the approver for the record that he is signing. According to your So yeah, right now we have this workaround. So next, is it possible to use Ragic for human resource status management? For example, when an employee is on a business trip or on leave, the designated substitute approver will automatically receive approval permission for relevant forms during that period. Yeah, I think if the deputy is assigned, right now he will automatically receive approval permission for the relevant forms during that period. Yeah, that's how it works right now. Such permission will be revoked once the employee returns to work. Yes, if he revokes the deputy person, revokes the deputy setting in the personal settings, that should be how it works. So, yeah. Set deputy. Okay, if these functions are not yet available in Ragic, we kindly request that your team consider researching and enhancing it to make it more flexible and user-friendly in real scenarios. So yeah, deputy approval is already supported. It's just not that we don't support it as a multiple deputy according to different forms. Deputy approval are already supported on Ragic. For the person on leave, he can just go to personal settings and set an deputy that can run approve the records on his behalf. Okay. Set deputy right here. All right, let's go to the next question. Request for Vietnamese language support for online webinars. Okay, I'm Vietnamese. I'm not proficient in English or Chinese. Therefore, I would like to ask whether there are any support methods that could help me understand the content for your online webinars, such as real-time subtitles in Vietnamese or English. Okay, for the online webinar, it will be like this. It will be a little bit difficult. Right now, I don't think we have anybody who speaks Vietnamese with any fluency. But for subtitles, for the online videos, that's something that's possible for us to do. So real-time subtitles, I'm not exactly sure. But the contents will be the contents for the webinar will still be English, even with the subtitles. So I'm not sure if that's like very useful. Recorded sessions or presentation materials provided after the webinar, videos with subtitles, or any other suitable language support options. I would greatly appreciate your guidance and support. Okay, we'll certainly look into this. So what we usually do when deciding if we were to add support for a certain language, a big part of it will be how many users that we're seeing in a certain geographical region, or if we're seeing some nice growth in that geographical region. So for Vietnamese, yeah, we do see some Vietnamese users. So we will look into the data and see how difficult it is to add these Vietnamese subtitles or add some Vietnamese video tutorials and other resources. So we'll definitely look into this. think, and we'll probably do this for multiple languages and see if we can add better more subtitles for different languages, because a lot of AI tools right now should be able to make this process easier and quicker. So we'll definitely look into this. I think subtitles for different more languages to our videos be great for our users. Look into this and see if we can start adding more languages to our subtitles for our videos in 2026. Okay, for online webinar, I doubt it, and also the questions are in English. So if for the webinars, I'm not sure it would be useful. But what we can do is start adding subtitles for the tutorial videos that we already have online, and those are in fact the main things that you can learn Ragic. And also I think if you talk to Ragic AI and ask him to build a database for you, and you will be able to speak to Ragic AI in any language that you want. So that will also be very helpful. So you could try that. I would also recommend talking to Ragic, Ragic AI in your own language, and ask Ragic AI to build your application in your own language. It usually helps quite a bit. Okay. Ragic AI. Okay, next question. Request to restrict modification of approval accounts in Ragic approval workflow. Modification of approval accounts. Okay, let's see. According to Ragic's current design, at the confirmation approval stage, an approver or an approver group at the confirmation approval stage. Approver or an approval group is allowed to change the account designated as approver or add additional approval accounts. Yeah, and that's kind of exactly the way, the workaround that we're providing if you're doing deputy approvals. So in our actual operation, we would like to configure the system so that approvers are not allowed to modify the predefined approval accounts in order to ensure that approval workflow is executed strictly in accordance with established internal regulations to reduce potential risk in control and governance. The idea for the approval design behind this is to mimic the real world paper flow. If you're using like documents or paper documents or electronic documents, and if you're asking, if you're doing approval signing for these steps, for paper documents, you can actually ask anybody to sign a certain step because the rules are in your head, and that provides the flexibility to run approvals differently. So that's actually the idea behind it. And I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure if this is supported um, to like not allow these actions. Let me take a look. Disallow canceling, disallow. Yeah, it's not supported yet, but I do think it's definitely something we could support. Set rules. Oh, this is like, yeah, this does not change things. Yeah, but I do think that would be a pretty good idea to hide those functionalities if you really don't want to allow those. Okay. Oops. Here's the question. Okay, if it's not supported yet, you would like to consider adding this function. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Thank you for your feedback. We do right now disabling and adding additional step or disabling change approvers are not supported yet. We do think it's a reasonable configuration and will be the option to disable these functions in approval configuration. In design mode approval configuration. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty nice feedback because off the top of my mind, I thought like maybe we do have this, but yeah, I guess we don't have that yet. Okay, so that's it for the questions for today, and thank you for joining into the latest episode of Ragic Office Hour. If you have any other questions, please use the Office Hour question sheet to ask them, and I will be answering your question in 2 weeks in 2026. All right, and Happy New Year, and everybody take care and be safe. All right, thank you. Bye.